Hi friends, this is Vijay. Today I am going to speak about Azure Service Fabric. Azure Service Fabric facilitates the development and deployment of scalable large-scale microservices. The main advantage which I find is the way the application is maintained has been greatly simplified. It really simplifies the process of rolling out the changes. My fellow YouTubers have greatly explained this concept, which inspired me in making this video. Now let's understand this concept with the help of an example. I have used a stateless service fabric and Angular as the client application. Now let's start the application. To start with, I have two solutions open. The first one is an ASP.NET Core Web API, which is hosted inside an Azure Service Fabric project. And the next one, this is a client-side web application which is done in Angular. I have opened it in Visual Studio Code. So the web API project. So this project, it has two methods in it. The first one is going to return a color and the other one returns a shape. So we will first run the application and then I can walk you through the code. So I have installed the Service Fabric SDK on my local machine. We can set up a local 1 node cluster or a local 5 node cluster. Now I'm going to set up a local 5 node cluster. So it's going to take some time for setting up the cluster. So once we get the notification, the local cluster is set up successfully now. Next we can browse to the Service Fabric Explorer, which has a port number of 19080. Here we can see the Service Fabric Explorer, but currently there are no applications in it. Now let's publish our application to the local cluster. Now we just right click the Service Fabric project and click on Publish. The target profile will be a local 5 node config. Since we are using a 5 node cluster, we need to uncheck this box since we are publishing for the first time. The manifest version here is 1.0.0. It's going to remain the same and just click on Publish. It's going to take some time. Once the publish is done, if you open the Service Fabric Explorer, we can view the application that we just published. Now we just switch to the client application, the Angular application. We type in ngserve inside the terminal and compile the project. Now the project is compiled successfully. Now this is the client application that we are using. Here we have a page called Shapes and its associated component. There is also a CSS file, shapes.css. After it compiles successfully, we just call the Shapes page in the client application. Now this particular circle shape and red color are written by the web API running inside the Service Fabric. Now we just switch to the web API project where we return the color and change it to a different color. We just copy the hex code and paste it here. We will also change the shape in the method that returns the shape. We have various shapes defined inside the shapes CSS file. Now we will select the triangle shape. After making these changes, now we will again publish the Service Fabric application. This time we need to select the upgrade option. And the important thing is we need to click on the manifest version and change the version number of code. We'll make it 1.0.1. Click on Save and then click on Publish. It's going to take some time for publishing. And we can also view the upgrade status in the Service Fabric Explorer. As we can see here, even though the publish is still in progress and not yet done, the UI here is being updated with a new shape and color. There is absolutely no pause or interval in this sequence, and a new color and shape is immediately displayed as and when it's available. That's the advantage we have by using the Service Fabric. Now I have extended it to various other shapes and colors by repeating the same steps. There is absolutely no downtime. I have used a local cluster for building and deploying the Service Fabric application. We can perform the same steps as well in Azure portal if we have a subscription in Azure. To download and install the Service Fabric SDK, search for the Service Fabric SDK in Google and then click on the first link. Now in this page, click on the link which says install the Microsoft Azure Service Fabric SDK. Now it downloads an exe file, and using this file we can install the Service Fabric into Visual Studio. Now let's open Visual Studio 2019 in admin mode. Click on create a new project. In the language drop-down, select C#. In the platform drop-down, select Azure. Select the Service Fabric application template and click next. Here we need to provide a project name and select the location. Click on create. You have a few templates listed under the .NET Core and few under .NET Framework. We will choose a stateless service template. Under .NET Core, we can give a name for the service and then click on create, which creates the application. Now I have already prepared an application. This is the core Service Fabric project, Cloud API stateless, and this one is the microservice created under it, named API Core Stateless. In this project, we have a controller named Design Controller. So this method returns the color, and the other one, this returns the shape. Here we have a service manifest under the package root folder. Now in this file, we define an endpoint which has a name and we give a port number. This is the endpoint that is exposed by the service, which is consumed by the client Angular application. Apart from that, we have the default files found in a .NET Core application like the program.cs and startup.cs. The program.cs has the main method, which is the entry point for the project execution. Now here we have the register service async method, which does the service type registration. So it will initiate calling the particular API code, this particular API code stateless service class. Now if we enter the particular class, if we go through the class, this is the code that runs the service listeners. So here we are using the default Kestrel web server. So now this particular code will be normally found in the main method of the program.cs for a normal .NET Core application. So that is the difference we find in the normal .NET Core application and the .NET Service Fabric project, this particular Service Fabric project. So here we also initiate calling the startup class, this particular auto-generated startup class. If you go into the startup class, we have the configure services and configure methods. So I have added course since I will be connecting to this particular Service Fabric from a different client project. Now let's move on to the client Angular code. Here we have a page shapes.component.html. We just have a div element where we iterate through a collection of items. Now if we look at the code of its associated component, here we have an initialization method, the init method, onInit method. We call a method display blocks init. If you look at the method code, we have an empty array of items. This is an empty array. Now there is a long running for loop. For each iteration we push an empty element. Now at the end of this loop we have a large number of empty records. We will populate these records in another event. Now here we have another event, that is ngAfterView init. This is called after the HTML view has been initialized. In this we have a setStyle method. In the setStyle method we get a reference to the shapes div, this particular element here. Here the this keyword refers to the instance of this particular class. But if we are using the this keyword in this particular setTimeout method, it will have a different meaning. Hence we assign the this keyword to a local variable underscore this and use it instead of using the this keyword directly. The getColor and getShape methods are called from the ShapeService class. If we look at the ShapeService class, we have the methods getColor and getShape in it. These two methods are exposed by the DesignController API class running inside the Service Fabric. Now if we switch to the DesignController in Service Fabric, we have the two methods here. This particular port number 8860 is specified inside the service manifest as we have seen earlier. Now we store the result of the getColor and getShape methods in these particular local variables underscore color and underscore shape. Here we use a variable index and use it as a counter. We will use this method in recursion until it reaches the threshold value of object count, which in this case has a value of 50,000. So this particular elements variable refers to the shapes element in the HTML view. As we have already seen, the shapes element has been populated with an array of empty data. For each and every element in the collection, we set the class name. So the underscore this dot underscore shape value is retrieved from the API. We have various classes defined inside the shapes CSS. So the corresponding class will be mapped accordingly. Similarly, the underscore this dot underscore color value is also retrieved from another API, and we use this bg-color CSS variable to assign the color. In the CSS file, we will use the bg-color variable for the background color property in this way. We have used the flags isColorLoaded and isShapesLoaded so that the style for the object will be set only when the data is available from the API. Since it's an async operation, the data will not be available immediately. The setTimeout function is used so that the objects appear in a certain time interval. We have given a timeout of 1000 milliseconds, that is 1 second. Thanks for watching this video, and if you find it useful, please like and share this video. Also mention your valuable comments in the comment section below.